So, you've been on a job search or recently interviewed internally for a promotional opportunity. You've been selective and carefully matching your capabilities and qualifications to the posted roles before applying. The interviews you've done have gone really well, but alas, no offers. Maybe it was the "we went with someone else with more experience" reason, or the "we felt the final candidate was a better fit." Even when you press the person telling you this for more details, they aren't forthcoming. Nevertheless, it's frustrating and not helping you to understand what you might have been able to do better. Listen, rejection hurts. And you might be thinking you're not as good as you thought you were. Maybe you're starting to think you're too old, or conversely, don't have enough gray hair or maturity. The company talks about DEI, but as a gay man, you're beginning to wonder how truly inclusive these organizations are. Or maybe you're ticked off that they've wasted your time, or by what can feel like an incredibly dehumanizing process. Before you resign yourself to staying in the role that you've outgrown, cry foul suggesting discrimination, or decide to go live with your parents, how about you understand what else might be going on and how to start thinking differently about rejection? Hi, I'm Jenny Clark, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management. Having worked with giants like Google, Spencer Stuart, I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together and become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires organizational transformation. I have a few ways you can get involved in this conscious community. First, I've created a free career map to help you uncover your next career move. Second, I've created exclusive content for you with a community of like-minded leaders. And lastly, I send out a free newsletter every week. To learn more, check out the description of this video. Let's look at a typical hiring process. You might apply for a role through an online clearinghouse like Indeed or through a company's website directly. Executive recruiters, like I was, generally reach out to people typically at the director level and above, or a few levels below the CEO, depending on the size of the organization. These folks have not applied or were not aware of the open role, usually because it was not posted. We would find you through doing research based on what our client was looking for. A research associate, someone on my team, might call you for a short phone call to make sure the information we had on you is accurate. They might ask you several questions about your resume to determine if you meet the minimum qualifications. They'd be helping me develop a long list of 20 to 30 people. Then we would select 6 to 8 for me to interview. From there, we would select 4 to 6 candidates for the client to meet. And they, the hiring manager, would make the final decision. For non-executive roles, the process involves an applicant tracking system, an ATS. And that's probably using an algorithm to identify keywords on one's resume. This is the basis for selecting the most relevant applicants with whom to have a phone screen before starting the formal interview process. There's also sourcing done at these levels too, but not to the same degree as with executive recruiters. Now keep in mind that 75% of resumes are rejected before they reach the hiring manager, and only 5% of applicants are called in for an interview. The average corporate job opening gets 250 resumes. And of those, between 4 to 6, more like 2%, will be called for an interview. So what does it mean to be qualified? Frankly, it can mean different things to different people. The job description that you compared your resume against likely specified minimum education requirements, minimum number of years of relevant experience, as in function, sector, etc., and a few specific skills or competencies. It might show some preferred qualifications or something to that effect, suggesting that you would have a leg up if you met those qualifications. Now, to be honest, these job descriptions are often hastily written or pulled out of a drawer from 5 years ago. The hiring manager might tell the recruiter what their ideal looks like, but that might not be reflected in the written job description shared with applicants. For example, the hiring manager might say they prefer people from certain companies or don't like people from certain companies, or that they prefer those with degrees from certain schools. Really? This drives me nuts. Those preferences become biases to me because I've assessed people who went to top schools who paled in comparison who went to those lesser known schools. And to write off a whole group of people who work for a certain company is ridiculous to me. Anyway, but let's say you walk away from that phone screen or initial interview, you know that you're qualified. But what you don't know is who you might be competing against. The point is, there are few absolutes here. This is relative and to some degree subjective, meaning in the eyes of the beholder. For the most part, everyone that recruiters take the time to interview is qualified, meaning they meet the minimum qualifications and likely possess a few other attractive experiences, competencies, personality traits, or knowledge that could be valuable for the stated role. The recruiter then makes the first cut of who gets passed along to the hiring manager and possibly a few other interviewers. Likely team members who understand the role are asked to interview some other candidates. The recruiter might even rank the candidates based on both the facts and impressions deemed relevant to the role by the hiring manager or group of interviewers. Sometimes the hiring manager might designate someone who works for them to do the first round of interviews and decide between the finalists, 2 to 4 people in the final round. In some cases, there might be a panel or a committee of interviewers where each candidate is interviewed by 3 to 6 people at one time. I've seen this happen more in academic and nonprofit organizations. The final decision is usually made by the hiring manager after aggregating the feedback, sometimes quantitative feedback, as in a score, or qualitative, as in written comments, or both. So you keep showing up well, but in the end are not made an offer and it doesn't feel good. It's hard to imagine anyone could be better for this job than you. So what happened? You feel you deserve an answer, but the recruiter isn't being specific. In the United States, employers are not legally required to explain why they didn't hire someone. As an executive recruiter, I can tell you it can be clear to all involved why one person got the role, but tough to give us specific reasons why the other finalists didn't. It's relative. The truth is, someone, even you, might have had an off day. This whole thing is imperfect, like life. I realize, however, that this doesn't make the rejected party feel any better in the moment. So here are some possible reasons why you didn't get the job in spite of being well qualified and nailing the interview. Number 1, pre-selection. Sometimes companies know who they want to hire. Maybe it's someone a new leader is bringing over from their old company or an internal candidate. Internal candidates might be preferred as they are already familiar with the company's processes and culture, even team members. This can lead to external candidates being passed over, regardless of their strong capabilities. I realize that might seem unfair, but companies do consciously try to retain high-performing employees by offering them promotional or stretch opportunities. This is called internal mobility. Number 2, tokenism. To allegedly increase diversity, some companies insist on having at least 1 or 2 women or people of color on the finalist slate of candidates. The woman or person of color can become a token, so the company could say that they considered someone other than the non-diverse candidate they always plan to hire. It's happened to me, and I wasn't happy. It's simply not cool. 20 plus years ago, the NFL popularized this approach, calling it the Rooney Rule, to get more black coaches. I don't think it worked long term, and I don't recommend this approach to improve diverse representation in your workforce. Hire instead on the basis of competencies, not just experience or relationships. And don't insult people by pulling them into a process where they were never taken seriously. Word gets out. Number 3, culture fit. Companies often look for candidates who not only have the right skills, but also fit well with their organizational culture. If there's a mismatch in values or work style, they might opt for someone who aligns better with the company's ethos or the dynamics of the existing team, which might have its own sort of microculture. Similarly, a hiring manager might choose a candidate who brings a complementary set of skills or personality that balances out the leader's or team's strengths and weaknesses. Number 4, budget constraints. Sometimes budget changes can occur after a job is posted. So if a company faces unexpected financial constraints, they might go for a less experienced, as in less expensive, candidate, or even put the position on hold without announcing it to the candidates. Frustrating, but relatively common. Number 5, Future company directions. Companies might prefer candidates who have specific skills that align with future, possibly confidential projects or strategic directions, even if those weren't explicitly mentioned in the job description. Number 6, my personal favorite. You are just too good. You're humble, accomplished, and a team player, but your hiring manager feels threatened by your experience and demonstrated competence, even your personality. Instead of the manager seeking to surround him or herself with people smarter than they are, like you, they are allowing water to seek its own level, meaning the level of competence of team members can't exceed that of the leader due to his or her insecurities or weak ego. This is one where not being selected was likely a blessing in disguise. You dodged a bullet by not working for a weak leader. Here are 4 lessons. To cope with job rejection and feel better about yourself, consider these strategies. First, reflect but don't ruminate. Take some time to reflect on the interview process to consider how you could have shown up better. Maybe you should have done more homework on the company's current financial or market conditions, as in competitors, or on the people you interviewed with, which could have allowed you to make a better connection during the interview. But avoid overanalyzing to the point where it becomes counterproductive. Remember, rejection is not a reflection of your worth or capabilities as a person. It is not. Number 2, seek feedback. If possible, like I said, reach out politely to the recruiter or interviewer for feedback. This can provide valuable insights into what could be improved or reassure you that the decision was not about personal shortcomings. Always be pleasant and professional. I've had to go back to someone I rejected when the lead candidate didn't accept the offer, so there's always hope. Number 3, view it as a learning experience. Each interview is a learning opportunity. Reflect on what went well and what didn't, and use your knowledge to enhance your performance in future interviews. Number 4, continue building skills and networking. Use the time after rejection to build on your skills, attend workshops, maybe conferences, and expand your network. These activities can increase your chances of success in future situations and improve your confidence. Here's what I want you to take away. Rejection of any type doesn't feel good. In the workplace, it's hard not to take it personally. But remember, things are never as objective as you might want to believe. Qualifications are only one part of the selection criteria organizations have, and you might not be aware of all of the things these employers are seeking. Is it always fair? No, nor is life. Listen, keep things in perspective. I believe everything happens for a reason. Remember that job rejections are a common part of everyone's career journey. Learn from them and move on to an organization that values the competencies and attributes you bring, and keep your head held high. I know firsthand how taking the first step can be the catalyst for a life-changing transformation. I remember the moment I decided to harness my own strengths, and it made all the difference in my career. That's why I've created a career mapping tool just for you to help you uncover your unique competencies and leverage them to design your own career map. Take the first step towards your next level by clicking the link in the video description, and let's start this incredible journey together.